Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, and Dennis Dick with you this morning. What's on our radar? Well, we have DKS and SFIX going in opposite directions this morning. We're going to talk about the buy the dip market again yesterday. Boeing, NVDA. We'll talk about the follow-through action in Facebook and Apple. And our guest today is Nic Chahine. He joins us every other Tuesday. He will join the show at 8:35 to give us his option strategies for the day and the week. Joel, what is quick word here in the overnight trading session?
Flat, basically flat here. Pre-market high, 27.99. That should be familiar to all you people here. We talked about that last week. That goes right back up with Wednesday's high, not the high for the week. So the wall at 2,800 is there. Let's see if we can bust through it. On the downside, a little bit of weakness. Pre-market low, 27.85.50. Don't have anything for you there, folks. 27.75. That represents your daily pivot. Mid-range on the session, 92.25. That would be important to overtake early. But right now, just dancing around unchanged. Crude in the green by 22 cents here at 57.01. Once again, trading range prevailing in crude here. A little bit higher up, you have the upper end of the range. That's 57.86. Gold struggling with 1,300. Once again, up $5.30, though, at 12.96.40. Silver in the green by 15 cents here at 15.43. Bitcoin being Bitcoin, doing absolutely nothing. Let's bring in Triple D. First of all, Triple D, Well, first of all, and the most important thing is what time did you put the drops in, and is your vision better?
You know, it feels a little bit better today. Yesterday I felt like I had sand in my eyes. I put the drops in the same time, just toughing it out, and they feel a little better today, but lack of sleep is not helping the eyes. So I don't know what is the drops and what is lack of sleep, because the girl decided to get up, the 1-year-old decided to get up at 3:30 and stay up till 5:30. So yeah, so me and my wife were battling her for a while, and you know, she's so sweet and stuff, and you try to be like nice about it, but at the end, you just basically got to let them cry out. So
you do.
Yeah, you gotta let them cry. We subscribe to the cried out method at a certain point in time. I'm a softie, and I'll let her for a while, but you know, I like sleep in her bed. But then when she's like turning back and forth, and then when she's talking to you and stuff, it's like, no, it's 4 a.m. We're not having a full conversation here. It's time for you to go back to your room. So.
All right, well, let's
always fun. But anyway, so tired from the lack of sleep. Probably the eyes are tired from lack of sleep. But if you got kids, you know what I'm going through.
All right, let's go and let's want to talk about a little bit about Boeing from yesterday and the follow through.
Buy the dip for a minute, and then we'll move into Boeing, because that'll be a nice segue into it. Because we talked about, you know, the dip potential in Boeing. We talked about the dip potential in a lot of stocks. NVIDIA was down 4 points on their acquisition, ended up 10, huge pop. Boeing was down at 1 point, over 50 points, ended up only trading down 20 points, so got back 2/3 of the losses there if you were buying it off the open. Oracle, which was downgraded yesterday, I believe it was to sell, open and went straight up, and I mean it just ripped your face off rally in the first 10 minutes, ended up going positive, which is just showing you these people out here are hungry for stocks, and when they get the dips on stocks that have been in favor, they come in and buy them. So it's a matter of whether the stock's in favor or not. Obviously, stocks that are out of favor stay out of favor, but the ones that are in favor, when you get the dips, the stocks that are in uptrends, those are the prime candidates for BTFD.
Yeah, I think with the Boeing here, and we talked about it on the pre-market, you know, you had that big gap from earnings, right? You had avoided price from 380.50 to 367.78, and boom, you filled that gap right off the open quickly. And if you did buy it on that little downdraft, it kept rallying and rallying and rallying. I think what you had there, I don't know if there was new longs coming into the market. I just think it was a lot of short covering. I mean, anybody that had any crazy, Yeah, any crazy puts or, what if you just like, oh, I'm going to buy a 400 put on the close on Friday, just a little hedge. Boom, 30 bucks in the money. I mean, what are you going to do?
I think it's just even. There's people who maybe were short and they're like, holy cow, gift, or people who wanted to get long. I mean, this was one of the favorites and it gave you a huge opportunity. It's down here again this morning. Because some of the other countries are dropping this plane and obviously not allowing the flights that are using this plane. I think that's one of the main reasons it's down. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just buy this dip right back here again. So it's down $9. I think you could see us back over 400 again here today.
I don't know. I think that 400 is going to be a little bit of a resistance. Yeah, psychological.
There's a big rally, so we'll give you that.
Yeah. And I think I figured the 50% retracement falls right in that whole area too. If you did buy it on that dip yesterday and you bought it on size, you want to see that follow through 400. But, there's still, the FAA said it's flight worthy. Companies are suspending it. I think it's going to calm down today. And I think what you're going to do is you're going to get a, consolidation, not having tight as range yesterday. The people that didn't buy yesterday and didn't buy on the dip or buy as much as they wanted, they'll be bid well ahead of that 365 low. So let's see if it just winds into a little bit of congestion here. But I'm looking at 400. Also, you had to close at 400.01. So now you're down 8-9 sticks. I think that's going to be your resistance. And I think you'll find support ahead of that 365.55 number.
Jump over to NVDA, which had a huge pop too. We know they bought Melanex and that stock was trading down the pre-market, but man, it was a gift because they turned around and just started buying this hand over fist, and that is a nice candle. I know you're getting up to the resistance point that you got, up at 165, but man, big candle pushing up. It's up here again today because Kramer was giving it the pumps last night on Mad Money. He said, I see a lot of upgrades coming in the future for NVIDIA. I'd like to ask Spencer Israel, though, because he's our master of figuring out who's to upgrade it. Look into the Benzinga calendar and how many people already have a buy on NVIDIA and how many people have like a seller neutral that could potentially upgrade NVIDIA. Maybe take a quick look at that. The Benzinga Pro is really good for that. So, and then that'll give you better potential as opposed to us just saying and agreeing with Kramer that upgrades are coming.
I'll run through the technicals real quick while Spencer's doing that. And you are rallying. You're up 61 cents. It looks like someone's just trying to wiggle out of some stock here in 162. For the last hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe since your 4 a.m. open. Let's see here. Just kind of bumping up against there. So I'll take a look at that and see what happens at 162. But your major resistance, as Dennis mentioned, doesn't come in to that high that you just had, just over 165.
How'd you find out, Mr. Israel?
I'm seeing about 12, about 30.
How many cover it? Oh, well, I guess you're just ballparking here.
I'm ballparking about 13 or 14 outperform / buys. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 neutrals, and man, not many sales. There's two. I see 2 underperforms. I see Needham and Exane BNP. I don't see.
And I believe Needham just reiterated today they're underperformed, so they're not going. Sorry, Kramer. When we look under the hood here for that analysis, we don't see a lot of potential upgrades coming. So this is something you can quickly look at. And the way we do this is we look at what the current ratings are. And is there a lot of analysts that are out to lunch on? And if they are, then yeah, we'd give that argument. But just to say stock goes up and then upgrades are coming, when there's only 2 analysts that sell and 1 reiterated their sell, there's not a lot of upgrades coming. So yeah, Needham today reaffirmed their sell rating. So they're not going to go. Who's the other analyst out of sell?
Exane BNPs that underperform. And then there's about 4 or 5 neutrals.
So those 4 or 5 neutrals are potentials to go. Maybe you'll see an upgrade. I'd like it. I'm long the stock in my long-term portfolio, so I'd like it if we see upgrades there. But it's not the one that I would say has huge potential for upgrades coming, because I don't think the analysts are that out to lunch on this one. So, with that being said.
Well, I just want to do, speaking of upgrades and downgrades too, I just Apple, huge boost off the Bank of America upgrade, and you're getting follow through today. Dennis, you'll talk about the 180 level coming up here, but I just, 2 birds going in different directions. Apple, strong the entire session. Took out the former high of the moon, closed above it. Facebook made a new high for the move, but kind of faded back a little bit. So far, I like to look at stocks after they have big moves over upgrades and downgrades, whether or not they got filed through the next day. Right now, you're looking like you're getting some follow through in Apple. Still remains to be seen here in Facebook.
Let's see what Apple does at 180. You got to think there's going to be some size there. Obviously, NASDAQ stock, so it's not like we can go look at a New York book, and NASDAQ seems to hide their size a little bit better, at least in pre-market. So I would think 180 is going to have some resistance, at least from an institutional perspective. We'll see if it can take out 180, then it maybe gets more interesting. Facebook pulled off the highs, but it's still been in a consolidation station here, and I think the bulls are in control as long as it's above 160. I'm long them both.
All right. We did have some earnings.
Yeah, we did. And the big one, which is having an enormous move, and like John Dodson was saying last night, this is way above the expected move. Expected move is about $3.50. This thing is now up $7.50. We're talking Stitch Fix, SFIX. If you want to fix up your portfolio and you got this thing on, that Stitch Fix is the right stock to have today, at least. Wow.
Nice pun there, Dennis. The Q2 EPS.
I was working at a bet to get
working
there.
Yeah, that's okay. The Q2 EPS for Stitch Fix is at 12 cents, up from 2 cents a year ago. Sales $370 million versus $295 a year ago. They touted that they had 3 million active users on the platform. They gave some guidance on the earnings call as well. That was higher than estimates for the sales guidance. That came in at around just under $400 million versus a $384 million estimate. And their fiscal year sales guidance was strong as well. So basically strong guidance. The 3 million active users was good. The earnings is showing strong year-over-year growth for the EPS and sales. All equates to a strong report.
Huge pop for this. And if you go out, you got to go out a ways here. I might have to go out that far, I guess, because it was out there in October, but it had that huge fall from 45 down to 25. Was that like that was the earnings day? Like I'm looking at October 5th, that week right in there, October 5th. Where we
and that happened.
Anyways, whatever happened in there, you're getting back into a little gappier area here too. So this is Joel's specialty. We'll let him break down the tech.
Yeah, I'll just say $35 when you had that gap down day. Your high was 35 even. So you're coming back right up to that area. You're at 34.60, but you're just steadily climbing here. So get a over 35, you get into that whole gap area, big old gap, up to 43.84. But really important here. See if the buyers can take this through 35, then it's wide open. If 35 in fact can hold, then maybe it'll peel back a little bit. But it just looks like it's well bid. I mean, since that 4 a.m.
Yeah, it's been climbing.
It's been bid, yeah. So no weakness yet. 35 is a real good number there if you're looking for a potential swing number or a potential resistance point in Stitch Fix.
Spinner was saying the expected move was 6, so we have conflicting. I didn't look it up. I was taking it from our chat.
For the week.
For the week, okay. Yeah, but for the week would still be incorporating this earnings because you can't do daily earnings on Stitch Fix. So anyways, conflicting. I don't know who's right, John Dodson or Spinner. They're both in there. So one's at 350, one's at 6. So I didn't look it up. I was too lazy. I just trust my chat. So moving on. I just want to talk a few ratings here for a second, and then we're going to go over and talk some other stuff.
Can we do Dix real fast, though?
Oh, shoot. We missed Dix. How did I miss Dix? It's like my last name. Okay, go ahead. It's crazy. It's like remember Rashidi used to say that's your dad's store? Dix. It's not my dad's store.
Q4 adjusted EPS, $1.22 versus $1.06 estimate, so they beat that. Sales $2.49 billion versus $2.48 billion, so a good Q4, but the guidance was a little bit light. The fiscal year EPS guidance that they gave a range of $3.15 to $3.55, which I guess is in line with the estimate there, but the estimate was in the mid range of that range, so it's okay. I don't know. Stock's down this morning, so maybe they gave some quarterly guidance there that was light, but I don't have that for you.
Down 6% here. It ran into the number a little bit. It was up yesterday there, so slight disappointment. You're getting into the middle of the area. I don't know. I'm torn on this one. I feel like it's in the middle of nowhere at 36.20. We'll throw this one to Mr. Elconin.
I'll just go with the pre-market low. Your pre-market low comes in at 35.70. You have a daily low right there too at 35.60. You have bounced off that, so there's your support. Let's see if they can defend that, and we are a buck above it. So there's your support area. Coming back on the upside, I mean, you only have a $1.30 and change to go to get to yesterday's low. Yesterday's low comes in at 37.76, so that would be your resistance for Dick's Sporting's Good. And I don't know if this is enough to make all the shorts cover from mid-February here, but you have bounced pretty good off that pre-market low.
Go back and stay with earnings and do Momo. This is a big move for Chinese stock, MOMO.
Sure. Before I do that, Griffin saying that the adjusted EPS for Dick's was actually $1.07, and I forgot that their same-store sales was down 2.2%. So you never.
Nah, they don't like that.
All right. On to Momo. I guess the last of the high-flying Chinese internet stocks to report here. I would expect they reported this morning Q4 earnings per ADS 59 cents versus a 52 cent estimate. That's the only number I have for you.
Stock is $36 here now, and here's another one that continues to climb. This is climbing this morning, continues to climb here. 36, that's up 11%. It's a big move here. MOMO. No, that's at the pre-market
right
high.
at that high, yeah. And the pre-market high is right here at your high from March 6th. So 36, you hold at 36 here. Greener skies ahead. Below 36, you get a little bit of a pullback, but it looks like the buyers are still there. 36.10 is your last print, but right there is your old high. So you're getting a replay from March 6th trading action, 36.05 high.
Revenue is also a beat, $559 versus $532 million. So they beat on both handily. Very good report.
Coupa Software from last night. Let's do this one. COUP. That's trading up as well. It is a widely followed stock. It's trading only 8,000 shares here this morning, but interesting chart here too. I mean, the thing gets killed 2 days ago. Again, it was one of those Friday stock bounces and closed fairly strong. Continued to trade up into its earnings report yesterday. Reports and it's trading slightly higher here this morning on the report.
Q4 adjusted EPS 5 cents, up from 2 cents a year ago. Sales 74.9 versus $67 million. The guidance that they gave was a little light. They gave an EPS, a Q1 adjusted EPS range of a 3 cent to a 6 cent loss versus a penny gain estimate. Their sales guidance a little higher by a few $1 million, just around 74 million there. Fiscal year EPS guidance was light, 4 cents versus 10 cents. 4 cents to 10 cents is the range they gave versus a 21 cent estimate. So light, pretty much all around there on the EPS guidance for both the quarter and the fiscal year, and the earnings were fine.
What do you make of a chart like this? I mean, a lot of these look the same, where they got the beats on the Friday, and then we had we closed fairly strong Friday afternoon and into the Friday close, and then you get some follow through. I mean, some of them look a little bit different, but a lot. If we bring up any tech stock, for the most part, it's got a little reversal. Looks like on Friday, follow through, and obviously this is an earnings report, but some of them are even following through again here this morning. What do you make of these? Like, is that like the shakeout? And now there's going to be stronger hands in here, so now it can actually maybe take out those highs.
Well, I'll just focus on this one. I mean, you're already well through the 50% retracement. I'd like to see the battle that happens right at this area here. Your all-time high is 99.64, so that's a big target on the upside. But with all the wild price action really over the last 10, 12 days, you posted an all-time closing high at 96.11. So there's my focus. You're currently trading above that by a considerable amount, so the all-time high comes into place. But I'll just use 96.11 as a swing number, and then use as resistance that all-time high, close to that psychological $100 level, 99.64.
Jump back. We got a buyback here in stamps.com. STMP announced last night, and they immediately bought this thing up to 92. And I was looking at it, I was like, Really? And I think it's 50 million,
60,
right, Spencer?
60
$60 million. I mean, that's a pretty okay. Well, what's the market cap of it, first of all? Let's go look at the market cap. But 60 million sounds like nothing. So I mean, it almost looks like, why did you bother? I think that's just it reeks a little bit of desperation to me. I guess the market cap's only 1.53 billion, so it is substantial when you consider it that way. But it just doesn't sound like much. $60 million buyback. Like, you can't get to 100 to at least make it sound better. Anyways, it bought up to 92, and I was like, I don't know. It just sounds like reeks of desperation to me. So I'm actually not surprised that it gave back that. It's now trading back in the 88 handle. So I don't know. This story is in trouble until they figure out what the deal is with that contract, because from 200 down to 90. I mean, and you mentioned it too, Spencer. I don't know what they're doing going forward here.
Yeah, it did get that pop up here off that to, what was it, 90, 92 even, but you faded off that quickly here. Really big level. You got the low of the move at 82.40 and 83.19 was the low the day after. So that's your major support. Boy, I think they have not been able to take this thing back up at all. So that definitely looks, more that you're going to go down and test the lows of the move. Unchanged here, just above unchanged, 88.58. That's only up 27 cents. Not exactly the move that you want to see off a buyback, even though it wasn't real big. So if this goes red on the day, let's see if we get down and test that low from yesterday at 85.93.
And then you also got a CEO purchase for CVS, which was kind of small too. How much did they buy there, Spencer? CVS CEO. I know I'm throwing you under the bus big time here,
was
but
9,600 shares at 52.71 per share.
So what is that? 96, so 500 grand worth? That's the chairman, Dorman. I mean, it's a vote of confidence for CVS. The CVS needs something like that, but
it's not enough.
That's light too, though.
Not enough of a vote of confidence.
Well, that's what I'm saying too. I'm actually long this overnight. I actually bought it because I was like, oh, but then I was like, I don't know. So I'm kind of talking against my own book here again. But it'd been nice if it was like a couple million. You come in, you buy like 5 million. I bet this thing would be up $1. When it's 500,000, they're like, well, 500,000 doesn't seem like that much. So it's up a little bit. Market's trading a little bit higher here too. So it's a little bit of a vote of confidence. But nice if you put a little more of your money where your mouth is, though.
Yeah, it took I know people are trying to pick a bottom in this last week. It was really one of the most mentioned stocks in the chat. And you finally got some lows to lean on here. Last Thursday, 52.17, and then you had a 51.93 low, and then a 52.31 low for yesterday. So let's call it a triple bottom there at 52. The CVS chairman must be a technician, relying on that triple bottom. Picked up the shares at 52.71. Not much of a pop. We are trading above yesterday's high, but just a little word of caution here. Your 3-day high comes in at 54.34. So important to hold 54 in order to challenge that 55 here. But you got a triple bottom and a couple two green candles in a row. Bad news though is on the update, the volume fell from 22 million to 15 million. So maybe it was just a lack of sellers there.
5 minutes before we get the CPI number, I might pop off a minute or two early just in case we get some volatility there. I have 51 overnight positions, so I'm fairly.
You're back in it.
I'm back in the feel of things, trying. You know what? And it's been good luck, bad luck. It seems like when you get that many positions, there's always something working against you, and there's always something working for you. So you always just got to be maximizing the ones that are working for you and talking with the news and minimizing the damage from the news that's working against you. So that's just how it goes when you're doing different types of, after hours or, index.
What's the most overnight positions you ever had on?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I remember I had 200 positions on from that algorithm gone haywire back during, when was that? When I was going away. That story always upsets my wife. She doesn't like when I tell that story. But anyways, we were going to Europe the next day, and I was running it on Russell, and I ended up, with 15 minutes to go, my algorithm ended up putting me in like 200 positions. And I was like trying to work out of them all. And it was just, I ended up getting hedged. I had to actually trade out of the restaurant from London, England. So the next day, because I couldn't get out of it all in time.
I know she doesn't like it, but could you tell the reason why you ended up having so many positions?
So I was running off the imbalances off Russell, and this is like 10 years ago. So it used to be like, on the Russell rebalance day, the fourth Friday of June, there'd be some good big moves. So I had an algorithm that would just basically buy stocks that had buy imbalances, sell stocks that had sell imbalances. It was at 345. So anyway, so they all come on, they're just large. So, but then, so it seemed fine, but then, I was like working out of these trades, and I was like, I can work out of this stuff. So I'm working, and then I look, and I was like, did I not just sell that? And I was like, I've got something. I thought I just sold, and I've got it again. How is this working? And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's still running. It was like 3 minutes later, and I minimized. So, and we always say this, when you're running algorithms, don't minimize the program. Make sure you close the program. So I had to minimize the background. It was still running. So anyway, at the end of the day, I actually ended up just losing a little bit of money, but it was I grew a few gray hairs. Maybe that's the day I got my glaucoma too, because I was stressed out that day, especially when I was going away on 8-day European or 15-day European vacation the next day. So it was a little bit of excitement.
All right.
But
Sorry.
anyway, it worked.
I hope Laura wasn't listening on that one here. All right, we have 3 minutes here to that number. Dennis, if you want to hop off, Spencer, you can give us a little bit of an estimate if you want, and then we can take it from there.
Well, nothing crazy expected out of this number. I think we're looking for just 0.2%, which is exactly last month's reading as well. So I don't expect, and this is not a number that I think we typically see.
No, it doesn't. But you know what? Just sometimes, different numbers, back in the day used to be the money supply, and then it was all about how the bonds were trading. So, it shifts focus. Unemployment's been pretty unexciting as of late. So you never know. I mean, with the big focus on interest rates, it's always good to see what inflation is doing. Real quick, we'll just cover a stock here. Someone's asking, do you see anything on Weight Watchers, says Russell Stiver. And I'm not seeing any news on it. I just think it's just, wow. It's hanging out near the low of the move. Low of the move is 1880. Buyers stepped up the last couple days just above 19. So that's your major support. Not moving much here, but man, keep a close eye on $19. Actually, 1880 was the low of the move. Volume really coming off here as well. As maybe everyone that's out wants out, but you got a major level to lean on there in Weight Watchers. Here we go, coming up on the number here. We're flat on the session, nice little range. We've had a 13.5-point range overnight, just dancing around unchanged. Got excited last night when they took it up to 27.99. That's right with Wednesday's high. So we're dancing around unchanged, and we'll see how that number affects things today. If Dennis is back within 25 seconds, you'll see the movement here. And just taking a little bit red here. Spencer, how many seconds do we have here to the actual number?
Should be coming out right about now. It is 8:30. Waiting for it. Don't see it yet. Usually you see it right around. Don't know.
Yeah, must be good.
Oh, there we go. 0.2%. There we go. Okay. Year over year, 0.2%, which is what we were looking for. Sorry, month over month. Year over year for February, 1.5%, which is slightly below the 1.6% estimate. But the month over month CPI is what we're looking for. Core CPI, a little bit light, 0.1%. That's the main number, the core CPI month over month, 0.1% versus the 0.2% reading. So, okay, a little bit light on that.
Yep. I mean, nothing to get in an uproar about. Market likes it. Spoos like it a little bit here. We've gone green. We're up by a buck here. So your focus here, 27.89, your closing price. That's nice here. Mid-range, 27.92 and a quarter. That was also your after hours high was right there. So got back from that little bit of sell-off here. Now trading just mid-range on the session here. Boom. Let's see. Quick question. Brett Hobbs, thinking of shorting the VIX today. Tell me why that is a bad idea. Well, I don't know that it's a bad idea. I just would say that, you had your volatility a couple days last week and things are calming down. You are coming in to, the quad witch on Friday. So you do have some, unexpected movements in then, but the VIX was probably, a day or two, that was probably a great idea. But we'll see if the volatility is quiet today with a little bit of rally here. Yeah, the VIX could certainly come in, but I wouldn't want to be short the VIX ahead of the quad witch. Triple D, did you see anything out there? Nope, he is still focused in. Maybe
he's trying to trade. He's in a slightly fast market because we did come up 3 points here. So just working it here. Go grab Nick early because I got some trades here. So we'll grab Nick a couple minutes early here. He's been rearing to go. So
okay, all right. We'll dial him up early. It's 5 daylight savings for him too, so 5:30 out in California. Nic Chahine, he is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. He joins our show a couple times a month to share his technical and fundamental analysis on the market. He might be a good person, Brent. I'll ask him about thinking of shorting the VIX today too, get his opinion. I know he follows the VIX indicators very, very closely here. Rally continues off that CPI number. We are now in the green by 3 3/4 handle, 22.
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing today, Nick? Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning to all of you.
Yeah. Real quick, we were getting some questions here about some traders thinking of shorting the VIX today. And I was thinking, well, a couple days ago or, on Friday when we had that volatility, it might have been, a good idea. Here, after a day of it calming down, going into quad witch here, what's your longer term outlook on the VIX?
I shorted it last week, just like you said. At first, it was a little tough trade, but I had to dig in my heels. And I sold credit call spreads at the money when it had spiked, and they were profitable yesterday. I think I collected 23 cents or so on a 50-cent wide spread. So it was a binary trade where I'm either wrong or right, where I collect about half of the spread, saying that this is it as far as fear. And yesterday, at some points in the day, they were 5 cents to close. So I could have scalped 18 cents or so.
Okay, and just moving forward here to the expiration here. You seen any unusual activity heading into the quad witch on Friday?
As far as unusual activity, no. I did like to see the fact that the sentiment fears, we snapped out of it yesterday. I was afraid that the sell the rip meme will come back to life. Oddly enough, it didn't resurface and it didn't stick. So Monday's action, that was the win for me for Monday's action, not the fact that actually, how much money we made as far as a rebound, but the fact that the sell the rip meme didn't take hold again. So that was positive. And last night after the close, we saw a little spike and they're trying to come up to it now. I'm seeing some action in the bond market. I take it the CPI is out. I'm not looking at it. Is it hotter than expected, mild? I'm not looking at it now. So that could move the bond market, which will move stocks.
It was a little light, Nick, 0.1% versus 0.2%.
Okay, so there's no rush from the Fed. The Fed is on the sideline, as Powell said in his 60 Minutes interview, which was very bullish stocks, by the way. So that means that yields will fall and bonds should be strong, which could put pressure on the stock. So we shall see how that works out.
And as far as going into the expiration this week, a lot of times, the expirations mark turning points in the market here. A lot of excessive buying and selling here. Was that little dip that we had on Thursday and Friday, was that just your last chance to get in before we plowed a new all-time highs here, or you're still looking at a little bit of a trading range?
Well, it is a trading range. I drew boxes. I probably shared it on the show. I drew them February, middle of February, I think, and we're still in the box right now. We fell out of it last week. As far as the open interest and the quad witching and all of that, I had noted and shared, you probably read my write-ups, that we had downside pressure for a while, meaning that there were positions that were weighing the money wrong, and that usually causes downside pressure on the stocks, on the markets itself, and then we see like a drop out of nowhere and it fixes itself. So maybe last week's drop was enough. But after yesterday's rally, I can still see some back in place, but I don't know if in the hands of retail or market makers. So still to be seen what's going to happen with that as we roll out of this contract. Quad witching is always interesting. So I was protected on the downside a little bit, made for challenging a trade for somebody who was long stocks last week, but it was just a sentiment crisis, and I hoped it would be short. And as of yesterday, it's probably going to be short. There was a position in the XLF a couple of weeks ago where it flashed one day. It went down like $1 from where it was out of the blue in the middle of the day. And I noted it and I was like, what's up with that? And the bottom on Friday was like 3 cents off of it. So we drifted since that day lower to that price. So I don't know if somebody fat fingered it and they wanted to fix it. I'm not sure what happened. There was like 1 million shares or something like that. So odd things happen in the market outside of our hands. So not to say they're rigged, let's say they're well organized. So accept it and trade within those confines.
When we bring Dennis back, I want you to review that for him, because he was out, and that was last week, so he probably saw that. But I'd like to get him thoughts on that straight print. I have to ask you about Boeing from yesterday. I don't know if you had any positions going into it here, but I know you like to strike on days like that when the VIX goes, the volatility just goes out of control here. Did you get set in Boeing, or you decide to give it another day to trade?
Okay, so I did not have a trade in it, and yesterday would have been a day to do it immediately at the open or in the pre-open when it fell hard. So what I thought about Boeing is that the candle was on huge volume yesterday as it fell. It was a sad event, tragic, I should say, but the way the stock closed well off the highs, halfway through its max loss, so it recovered about half of it. I think this morning it was still under pressure, but Boeing, it's the ideal stock to own. Why? Because it's cheap valuation in the 20s, 23, 24 as a trailing PE, has extreme visibility forward, like a pipeline of 10 years, and also has one competitor at best, and also they're in control of their own destiny. Management is proven. They don't make mistakes, flagrant management mistakes. Okay, the planes have issues every once in a while, but they have thousands of them out there. So the odds are that they're going to have them. So on dips, I would buy it, but it all depends on your time frame. I mean, this dip is still higher than just a few weeks ago. So yes, it's a massive dip. Yes, it's a tradable event on the day. Yes, you could enter the stock long if you want to own it for a long time, because it's going to be a beast. If stock markets are higher down the line, Boeing should be also higher.
All right, we're on the line with Nic Chahine. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads here, joining us. Boeing trading down today, so I'm thinking it might have a couple days of consolidation after that wild day yesterday, and then
but it won't make a new low. Like Kroger, dips big on the first day, and then it dips another day and dips another day. Boeing will probably stay within the confines of that first candle, is my point.
Yeah, I think so too. Because folks that didn't cover on that big decline, I don't know when you're going to get a better opportunity to cover than that. And longs that didn't want to enter, see things shaken out, will want to redeploy some assets to it. So very, very newsworthy. We'll see what happens moving forward. We did have some upgrades and some big old stocks yesterday here, and Apple got a big vote of confidence here from Bank of America. Very strong day. Looks like we're getting some follow through. The leader in the market, or the second biggest stock in the S&P. What's your forecast here for Apple?
Last week, also on the downside pressure, I sold credit put spreads in Apple at the money, which I rarely do. So again, a binary bet on my part that this tizzy we were having was BS. So I put my money where my mouth was, and I sold credit put spreads at 170. So those expiring this week, I closed them yesterday for 6 cents. So that was an easy scalp. I'm not chasing the upside calls here. I still don't believe in the leadership of the company. He was handed the gem and he's ruining it. That's my take. And there's so much that can happen, and they have an event coming. So usually it runs into the event. So I definitely wouldn't short it. And usually the event is, okay, so they change color. But in this case, maybe I should look at Netflix. So what if this event is going to affect Netflix income? I don't know what it says. Join us for something. The insinuation was something movie related, right? Or shows. So I forget the headline, what it was, but it gave me the impression maybe they have a streaming service that they're going to announce. So
yes. It's like a news platform / streaming service is what I've been hearing.
Okay, so we have to see what that is and if it affects Netflix at all. Meanwhile, Netflix was a buy for me last week. I shared a technical setup that could have. It's not triggered, but I'm watching. So I think Netflix, if they can take it above 371, 372, I think it'll shock people as to how high it can go.
All right, I see, there's really no major resistance here. I see a pair of highs in the 362 handle, but definitely that event. I mean, Apple has the eyes. It's whether or not, they talked about different things to capitalize on all the people using their services here. It'll be interesting to see what they have. The other thing you noted about Apple is that, as far as not shorting it ahead of an event, I think another reason too is, this had the big move off its all-time high at 233.47, and you break down to 142, that 90-point move, $45 retracement off that 142 low. That takes you up to the 87, 190 level.
I can't argue with that. I've seen write-ups of people, of good technicians that say that it could run there. In the open interest last week, it had resistance. I didn't check this week for it specifically, but last week it would have been shortable, and somebody who shorted it last week made money. But this week, I definitely would not stand in front of it.
Nick, I want to get your thoughts on China here. So whether that be like an ETF, like KWeb, or an individual stock, but Chinese internet names here. Are you playing this at all?
I'm not. I am helping people do it. I have terrible luck timing it. I make good calls and I fail to make money off of them. So this is where you say, there are a few tickers that beat you and you just step away from them. This one is one. Caterpillar is one. Those are mine. So even though I make good calls on them, I get ruined. My trade gets ruined by some headline here and there. So yes, China was a long on the bottom. It's just I don't do KWeb. I've done FXI before.
Okay.
If probably the best way to do it is to use a stock that represents the China trade, and if you can get a beat on it. I tried Baidu, I didn't like it. Maybe Baba would be the one, but I personally have not done it. So, but clearly they're off the lows, and the easy money is made, and from here they will need an accelerant and maybe an actual deal. So I'm looking at Baba. If Baba goes above 188, I'll probably chase it.
What about some of these healthcare names that are just ridiculously weak right now? CVS, Teva, to two off the top of my head.
Yeah,
it's sort of this dichotomy between, I guess, biotech and the other side of healthcare. Are you playing that at all? Or
I played Teva before, and I found it really hard to make money off of it, so I did never play it again. But clearly, when you have a stock that has a descending channel like this, there's something else that we don't know about, that I don't know about. So it's hard to time it unless I really have a reason to own it. I think CVS has issues with Amazon headlines, is it not? At least Teva has made some floor. It has a October low, and then the December low was higher than October low. And yesterday or today is that, let's see here. Well, this week I'm seeing that the low is still higher than December. So as long as that trend is going on, but you got a tightening range. You've got a higher low, a lower high coming to a point. So something's got to give in Teva to mix. I'm mixing two charts, but you're asking me about two. So it's one of those where I need a reason to think it's going to go up. It's either technical or fundamental. I don't know the fundamentals, so I'm looking at the charts.
And in that same category, let's do UNH.
Okay, so I think UNH, last time I checked it, I wrote it up for somebody. I haven't traded in a while. I thought the options, if I remember correctly, were a little thin to actually be able to get a good bid and ask on it. So has a must hold level. Seems like I've drawn a pattern of risk below. Let me share the weekly chart first on UNH. This gives you like the big picture of what absolutely needs to happen, which is hold the lows. Similar to Teva, has higher lows, but barely so. So let me switch back to daily to see if we can get some more clues there. Okay, so it's bouncing off of the floor around 235. As long as that's going on, it's constructive. So if I'm long UNH, I stay long. There's a battle coming at 248.50, which is a nasty red candle from March 4th. So now it has to combat big red candles that started February 27th. But if I'm long, I stay long UNH.
Nick, let's shift over to the oil market here. Still a trading range in here. Any technical that we should be aware of here in the crude oil market?
Yeah, it's kind of quiet, a little too quiet. Given all the positive rhetoric I'm hearing, OPEC wants to maintain the cuts, so they're trying to prop up the price for some reason. But you can't trust these guys. I'd say these guys and girls, but there aren't girls; they're all guys. So it's too quiet given all the news. So if technically speaking, 58 should trigger a spike to continue to 61-ish eyeball. I drew that one upside target of that white line, and I've drawn the red line before. They all coincide around the same, and I'm eyeballing it. And if I look back to last November, that's probably a ledge from where it fell. So 61-ish, I wouldn't short it, but I don't know enough about it. It seems like it's a tight range between 54.5 to 58. And that's too quiet for too long. It's not long in the terms of weeks and weeks, but it's still too long and too tight.
Would it make you start looking at some strangles or something on the outside of that? No?
I can't trade oil because it's literally a manipulated market. I mean, we have an OPEC and ROPEC, Russia and OPEC, and then Trump. So every rally, Trump will go out and say, "Please bring it down," and it falls. So trade Exxon if you want to trade oil, and Exxon's stock is very tight right here. If you look on the daily, higher lows, lower highs, coming to a point at a battle zone. So if you want to short it, you can. But know that it is tight and the move is coming. The direction is unknown. So Exxon is tight. 80.5 probably will bring buyers. Lower than 78 will bring sellers. If that fails, 74 will probably come. If the upper end breaks out, probably 83. I'm eyeballing this because there are levels at Exxon, for example, at 82 and 83.5, 83.6, which are pointies from before that it failed. So play the range. Pick your stock. When you see it cross a line that gets you excited one way or another, then place your trade.
Nick, I've got a general question for you. Where do you get your, you've got so many different trading ideas, and we know how quick you are on the charts. Do you have a watch list that you just pick on all the same stocks all the time, or is there a different area where you get your trading ideas from? Where do you get your next trading idea from? Okay, so I get hundreds of questions a week. So every time somebody asks me a question, and if I like a chart, I set an alert, and then I be talking in the chat room or discussing things or watching tickers, and then beep, a little alert goes on my screen. I switch to that screen, I look at it,
it set off my alert. And then I have a note in there. What was the thought when I put the alert? So it's impossible to remember every chart. I have go-to charts, but I do trade stuff I don't know anything about. So it all depends on when I see something I like. I set, like right now, I told you about Exxon. I probably set an alert above that 85 level, or I'm sorry, 80.5, 80.6. Yeah. So I would set an alert at the upper end and the lower end. So now I get two lines. If they crossed, the platform would alert me, and then I switch to that chart.
Okay, being proactive here. Dennis, did you hear Nic mentioned about that straight print that he saw in the XLF last week? And then it was a 1 million share print. Was it after hours, Nic, that you saw?
No. The thing is, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I was watching the XLF. Yeah, it was just after the market closed, and usually you have late settlements. Yeah. But it's usually within the range of the day's action. Well, we were at 26.80, 26.50, 70, 80, and then we drifted into the close to 26.50 from 26.82. I'm looking at it. And then out of the blue, boom, a 25.56 sprint. And I don't know
FINRA,
what.
Probably.
Well, whatever it was, I find it odd that last week's bottom was 25.63 or 4.
So it was lower than the bottom?
What, the 25?
Was this print lower than the low of the week?
Look, I posted it.
I mean, this is
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. There's nothing even close.
This is something, that I've even talked to regulators about, and a lot of people have talked to regulators about, is you have almost 40% of all your market action trading off exchange now. And it shows up just on the tape as FINRA Trade Reporting Facility, FINRA TRF. It's, very hard to determine what any of this is. I mean, you can see a big chunk, so you assume it's a block trade, maybe across a liquid net. You don't know, but it would be nice if they would color it a little bit more. Say, let's start breaking it down. Like there's, 40 or 50 different dark pools. Why not? You can't. I guess people don't want to know that you were trading in that pool, but there's so much of a lack of information. Like we have so much information on the lit market, and we have so little information on what happens on the FINRA Trade Reporting Facility off exchange. We need to get more color in there. We need to better understand it because, it's information as traders too that we don't understand. And it's also, sometimes, we don't know. There could be some, stuff that, shouldn't be happening off exchange. And it's hard to find that stuff when you just blanket all FINRA TRF. So, if any regulators are listening to this, let's get the FINRA TRF. Let's get some more color in there and find out, exactly, break it down a little bit more. Like maybe we can break it down. I don't know if we can break it down pool by pool or, talk off exchange market makers because they're going to fight that all the way. I mean, 20% or, of your volume here is like Citadel and Virtu Financial. So you'd see a bunch of that happening. So I don't think they probably want to show the actual market maker, but I mean, it's very difficult to determine what that is with so little transparency in off exchange trading.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't.
All you can do is guess.
Yes. I mean, I put a yellow box of the week where that happened and to get a 25.56 sprint. And then what happens thereafter, where it comes down to that print, I'd find it odd.
All you can do is guess, maybe it was a late cross. Usually, like you said, made a good point. Usually you'll see a cross, but usually it's within the day's range.
Yeah. I did.
So when you see an outside trade outside the day's range, I can't even speculate what that is.
I've seen this and shared it before. Most recently, I think happened in CRM. It spiked to 62 point something out of the blue. And then guess what happened the next day? I've seen it in Apple before where it spikes, to $5 or $2-3 away from where it is. And then suddenly it drifts toward that price. And usually those aftermarket or pre-market spikes out of the blue are usually within the day's range, just a late settlement of sorts.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, but this wasn't that case.
Yeah, it's outside it.
So it was way outside. And then what I did is I bought puts in the XLF. I didn't make money off of them because I ran out of time. I just chose the wrong week. But I spent 5 cents buying puts. And I was like, hey, maybe they want to take it there. Let me buy puts. And I did. They took it there. I didn't make money, but I found it interesting to note. Anyway, so bigger forces are at play, and that just reminds me not to be too cocky.
So much happens off exchange that we don't really know. But like we said, every trade in the U.S. at least hits the trade reporting facility with off exchange, which then hits the consolidated tape. So at least you have post-trade transparency that a trade happened. but we don't know much about it. I mean, when you see a trade on ARCA, it shows up trade on ARCA. When you see a trade on NSDQ, it shows up. You can go to the exchange and can see it was on NSDQ and was in the market. FINRA is off exchange, so that's not even going to affect the lit market at all. But most of your FINRA trades will be within the current quote. If it's off exchange market makers, they've got to print it within the current quote. If it's late reporting, which it can be, in the case of, some of these institutional crosses, you see those after hours and they can be at any price, usually within the day's range. When we start getting outside the day's range or outside the week's range, I have no idea what that's all about.
Either above my pay grade, and I'm
above my pay grade too.
Nick, let's wrap it up with XLF there. I see you put a chart in there. Faded that jobs number straight back up for these stocks on Friday and Monday. What are you looking at longer term in the XLF?
I love the value in the stocks. I just hate the fact that everybody on Wall Street loves to hate it. So if I wanted to chase the XLF, I'll probably chase particular banks in there. But even at that, I tried Goldman Sachs and I failed at it. It did show some promise, but it's fading a little bit. So, tight ranges, but definitely not the most exciting stocks to own. I think I would rather own mega caps at this point, technical mega caps, than this.
All right, Nic Chahine is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Nick, as always, thanks for the charts and the thoughts, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
All right. Any word here on the SPY or SPOO?
SPOO, yeah, we got a nice rally off that number. We're back firmly green on the session here. 93.75 your last print. That's up 4 3/4 handles. Now that pre-market high coming into play, 27.99. As I mentioned, you had last Wednesday's high, your 4-day high at that area. So once again, we had the decline, but a reset of the 2,800 resistance, and looks like it's going to be tested once again today.
I mean, we continue to just see, and I think the path of least resistance is still higher here. We had the bull cap hat on yesterday. I'm going to keep my bull hat on here today. Buy the dip is fully back again, and we saw that Friday come in. We saw the continuation on it on Monday. We're seeing a little bit of follow through here today. Any significant dip, it seems like, just gets bought. So I still believe we're going to be at new all-time highs on the S&P here sooner than later. I don't know. You got to go all the way up to 293, so it's going to take a little bit of time to go up 150 points. But I think we're going to, if I was doing a bet here right now and I could throw it out to the Mr. Elconin there, I would say we see that 293 high before we see 260. But
I'm going to wait till after expiration on this one.
There's a good point there too. Yeah. I mean, funny things happen, and headlines can change fast. And as traders, we have to be able to change our opinions very quickly. But I just think about how many money managers are underinvested. Even myself, like I said, in my long-term portfolio, is underinvested. I didn't get the money in fast enough because it was straight up, and nobody thought the continuation was going to happen. People are caught without stocks, and that is why when you get a significant pullback on any of the leaders, there is buyers beneath. We call that underneath demand.
Right.
That pushes us higher.
Some earnings after the close here. SWCH. Let's see. This one had a decline. I don't really follow this one much. Sold off. SWCH trying to climb back ahead of earnings, but the one that I wanted just to bring up that tomorrow, what about after that report from Children's Place here, Dennis? What do you think about Build-A-Bear Workshop Incorporated going into their report?
Nothing to do with each other.
No.
So absolutely nothing to do with each other. I'll say, yeah, because this Build-A-Bear thing. I mean, the profit margins must be incredible on that, because you go in there, it's $25 to build a bear, which probably costs $1 worth of material. I guess it's the whole fun of it all, but I think it's a novelty. I think, once you've done it once, why would you ever go build another bear? So maybe every kid goes and builds a bear once in their life and that's it. So I don't see the follow through. I mean, with a place like Children's Place, they sell children's clothes. I mean, there's always going to be a certain demand for children's clothes. And, it's been beat up, and I don't know if I'm a fan of the stock or not, but I'll tell you, this Build-A-Bear thing, like once you build a bear, I mean, you're just going to build bears every weekend? No. So I just don't see, anybody really going there more than once. Where Children's Place are going to have the avid shopper that maybe goes there again. Maybe it's their go-to place for the children's clothes. But competition is there for that too. I mean, there's a lot of, stores. There's secondhand stores now that people go to. It's like Play It Again Baby. There's like different stores and stuff where, and obviously people hand down stuff too. I get a lot of my clothes from friends for my kids because they have older kids. So it's
different story. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're just different story.
Before we wrap up, I want to run through some ratings. There's no real upgrades of note this morning. A couple of downgrades to pay attention to. Canadian Pacific CP getting a downgrade from Bernstein to neutral. JP Morgan downgrading F5 Networks to neutral. BMO Capital downgrading Monster Beverage to neutral. Coke getting a downgrade from HSBC to hold. And the most notable one this morning is UBS downgrading HPE Hewlett Packard to sell. Probably the biggest downgrade of the morning.
HPE dinged me. I had that overnight. I had it long overnight. It was one of those trades, and I've got a ton of trades on, and that one dinged me. So I've actually sold out of some of it at 1538, trying to get out of it all. So it's getting hit substantially here this morning. What was the other ones?
Coke at HSBC, F5 Networks at JP Morgan, CP at Bernstein. Those are the big four.
Coke, huge move yesterday. So they're upgrading or downgrading it into the strength here today. I think you'll find buyers below in Coke. It had a big candle, 45.10. So you do have some room. It's rare that you see a $1 candle in Coke. That's a huge move for yesterday. You got a few people that are short here, caught short potentially because that candle was just out of the blue. You can't look at short interest and stuff. It's day traders I'm talking about. So people say, the short interest is probably like 2% on Coke, but short-term traders still have those long short. So I think you could have caught a few people short. So I think you'll find buyers on Coke in the pullback. I don't know if it's going to be like an oracle that gets all back in the first minute of the trading day, but I think you could find buyers. Again, there's rotation happening here, though. We're a little bit more risk-on market right now, although it was a buy everything market yesterday. I mean, even stocks like Coke going up. So it was a wicked rally yesterday. I think you have underneath demand for a lot of different stocks.
All right. And on that note, that'll do it for today's show. Looking ahead to tomorrow, we will be joined by Sean Udall, CIO of Quantum Trading Strategies. It's been a while since Sean stopped by, so he'll be on tomorrow's show. Thanks to our guest, Nic Chahine. Thanks to all of you in our chat rooms on YouTube and premarket.benzinga.com. If you missed any part of our show, you can catch our podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Podcast, or youtube.com/BenzingaTV to rewatch us and see the charts and all our beautiful faces. Everyone have a good rest of your day. Please remember all the information from our show is for informational purposes only and not meant to be investing advice. And we will see you on Wednesday.